So you actually helped finance Proof's career early on, right?
Yes.
So was that with DJ Head or the WEGO, or how did?
Yeah, that was WEVO. Yep. Because Head was it was Head was Head came in not came into the game, but Head was what he was going to school at Michigan State University, and he was a DJ. I believe he was on he was on the college radio show. Him and a guy by the name of Jason Staten. So these guys I'm talking about, they're venerable people in our music scene, and they was DJing up there, and Proof would go up there to chase girls. I never understood going to Lansing to chase girls. I went up there a couple times with them because, man, Lansing is like maybe like an hour and 10 minutes away, or maybe like an hour and 20. And it's like, dude, we got all the women up here, we got all the women in Detroit. So it's like, man, I didn't get that. So, Proof was going up to Lansing, and matter of fact, Paul Rosenberg, he went to Michigan State University during that time. A guy by the name of Tony Tone, he was up there doing some different things. So yeah, man, it was that was crazy though. Yeah. It was a college town. But Head was from Detroit. So when Head, when he graduated and came back here, he was a DJ no matter what. Head had a degree, and Head is a very smart brother, but he was always a hip hop DJ.
So Proof had worked at the hip hop shop, right?
Yeah, well, he was one of the managers. Yep.
hmm And when in 8 Mile, when they talk about the shelter, are they talking more about the hip hop shop than anything? Because that's where a lot of battles happen.
Nah, the Shelter was a different club. The Shelter was literally, man, it was this old building. We are at the forefront. We're at the frontier, literally. When we talk about the 1800s, Detroit, we sit on a river like 3 miles away, or maybe 2 miles away is Canada. So we share a river with Windsor, Canada. So with that, we saying that it's a lot of historical buildings on the waterfront in Detroit. And it's this place called St. Andrew's Hall. And St. Andrew's Hall, the history, it was like people used to sleep in, like we talking about, this building was around for maybe over like 150 years. So it was a building called St. Andrew's. And with St. Andrews, it was a hall. They would do feeding and all that. I'm talking about before, and then like I guess maybe during the 70s, they said, "Oh, let's make it a performance hall." And when they made a performance hall, St. Andrews can hold like maybe 1,000 people. And in the basement of St. Andrews Hall is a place called the Shelter. But it was the shelter, it was a shelter literally back in, like with bombs I mean, this building is a historical building. Anybody could look it up. St. Andrews Hall is like a, a real ancient building, but it turned into a performance hall during the 60s and 70s. And part of it was you could do a performance in St. Andrews Hall that hold 1,000 people. You go and it's in the same building. So you go down some steps, and it's another concert hall called the Shelter. And the Shelter can probably hold like 300 or 400 people. It's not as big as this St. Andrews Hall, but it's like 300 or 400 people. Yeah. So that was a Shelter. It was like
And Proof hosted battles there.
they had battles there, but mostly battles happened at like clubs 246. It was battles all over the city, but the Shelter had some battles. Even St. Andrews had battles. It all depends on what was happening.
When you talk about like the aesthetic of the way that 8 Mile portrayed things, do you think that it did a great job at piecing things together? Like how things looked? Like, was it like authentic to the time period and
Yeah.
whatnot?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. They recreated that motherfucker. Man, you gotta remember, dude, it was such and with my own eyes, just reminiscing on it. You had a city, man. I think we probably had like maybe one movie a year here, like on some stupid shit, like some fucking, I think Jay Leno did a movie here, like, it was something I had looked up, because I was like, "Why in the fuck?" I mean, no, I knew what they were doing, but I was like, "Man, when has a movie been in Detroit?" Like, I know people have based movies out of Detroit, but they do them in LA and New York, but when has a movie, a full-fledged Universal Pictures did a movie? It was like somebody was telling me, like, Jay Leno did a movie here, like, in the '90s. So when Universal came to town to, to produce the movie, I mean, not to produce it, because Paul and Stewart Parr produced it. Um, Universal went full fledged, so they recreated like the shelter when it was throwing up and all of that. That was a recreation of the shelter, and I think for, I don't know, maybe legal purposes. Now, Chin Tiki was never a a place we went to. It was Stanley's, but I mean, maybe some legal things. So they did use Chintiki, as that wasn't a part of our party realm. That was in our party circle. They used that for maybe you know, for copyright reasons. I don't know.
Got you. Okay. So you were actually at the Blaze battle where Proof battled that female, right?
Yep.
And so I interviewed Poison Pen, and he spoke about like, I guess people were really upset about how brutal Proof was when he was battling her. Man, roll a clip.
Anyway, he battled. It was at Tramps. There was another club that used to exist in New York City, and the Blaze battle was popping. And Proof battled a girl. Don't remember her name. He don't remember her name. But long story short, he smoked her. Smoked her. But this is a different era. This is a different time. You know what I mean? Like, how battle rap has evolved into what it is now. It wasn't that at the time. So he battled a girl, a female, a woman, whatever you want, and she was very out of pocket. You know what I'm saying? Just saying, like, he's battling her. He disrespecting her. Let's be real. He's smoking her, but, being very politically incorrect for the most part. So, see, they gave her a sympathy vote. Because it was like, oh, it was like, oh, you bully, oh, you shouldn't be doing that. But like, it's a battle, bro. There's no rules. So he was saying he was wilding on her. And the judges didn't like that shit. So they gave her the sympathy vote. But she definitely did not win. And he definitely did. But she got the sympathy vote. And in the next round, she ended up getting smoked anyway because she didn't win the first round. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, Proof kind of got disqualified for just being disrespectful to Shorty. I wish I remember her name, but I don't remember her name.
Can I tell a historical story, if you will? Will you let me?
Yep.
Okay, so we were in Detroit at the time, and as you know, Paul Rosenberg, our boy, because we all like that's our family. Paul was out in New York doing his thing, and he was at the time, I think he was managing Eminem. And Paul was he was in the music industry set. He was in there, with his guy Theo Settlemeyer, and he was working at kind of a hip law office, Cutler and Settlemeyer. And Paul calls me out of the blue. He says, "Man, Mark, I got a situation. Maybe Proof might want to do it." I said, "What's going on?" He says, "Man, I hooked up, you know, the promoters or whatever heard about Proof, and I got Proof to be one of the rhymers, one of the contestants in the Blaze battle." I said, "What?" But he said, "Look, good news, bad news. It's this Thursday." And I remember Paul called me on a Monday, and he said, "Man, let's get Proof on the call." And I said, "Okay, that's cool." So we get Proof on a three-way, pause, and Proof like, "Yeah, let's do it. We in Detroit." And so Paul like, okay, I'm gonna tell you I'm gonna do it. I said, so I instantly I went to go book me and Proof some flights for I got the tickets. I got the tickets for us to New York on that Thursday. We was gonna come in Thursday afternoon, and then then I tried to get a hotel room, and during that time, back then, that was at 99, 98. Rooms was like the fucking stock market. They would triple overnight. So they gave me this crazy ass number. And I was like, I could afford it, but I called Paul back. I was like, man, Paul, man, to get a hotel and to make this like whatever, man, it's got. And then Paul like, oh man, that's no problem. Y'all could come just crash at my house. And at the time, Paul was, you know, he had like he had a nice apartment. It was really really nice, but he had like 4 or 5. He had like maybe 4 roommates. But it was a big. It was in Jersey City, Jersey. And Paul was like, man, y'all just crash in my spot. I said, all right, bet. So that Thursday, Paul, I said, Proof, you ready? Like, I'm ready. I'm on point. So we go to the airport, we fly, we get to the airport, we get there. You know, Paul live in Jersey City, so we just went to a hotel and we like tipped them to keep our bags. We just had our bags. It was only a day trip. We was like, fuck it, we gonna fly in and out. Fuck it. Cause we didn't want to be an inconvenience to Paul because he had other roommates. So we was like, fuck it. We just gonna stay. We just gonna crash on Paul's couch. So we get there, we get in the place. Man, it is such Paul meet us there. But man, it is so contemptuous. It's like it's so like it was like New York. Speaking of the Warriors, it was like, man, it was something like the Warriors movie. It was a New York crowd. It was like, and it was just me, Proof, and Paul. And we was like, what the fuck is going on here? And everybody is, man, it was a rough crowd. And we seen a gaggle. I mean, a big gaggle of the Roots. We talking about Black Thought was there. The only person that wasn't there was Questlove. I remember him, but they was all there to support. Their rhymer Dice Raw was in the battle. And man, and they was like, they were, and I'm like, oh, okay, the Roots. And I had never, in my promo coming, I had never worked the Roots. Right? So I could say, hey man, what's up? What's up, Black Thought? I knew who he was, of course, but I didn't know him because I never worked none of their records. So I was like, okay. So we just standing there, Proof get on stage. The first one is like lightweight. The first battle Proof had. Because it was almost like a round robin, if you will. And the first guy, Proof just destroyed him. And the thing of it is that it was based on the applause of the audience. That's how they did this battle. But Proof, and this guy he didn't even need to, this guy didn't even need to deserve a mic. And Proof annihilated. I believe Proof had one more battle. And I noticed like the Roots started booing Proof. I was like, what? I said, but it was a raw crowd. But it wasn't, he didn't battle Dice Raw. Dice Raw was just barely he was barely winning, but the Roots had a strong, they were massive in there. Like, the Roots, they came from Philly and fucking, like, they came to like 3 buses or whatever. They was in the house. The Roots were in the house. So I noticed they were like, kind of booing, like, but I kind of get that Dice Raw is their boy. So I was like, okay, I see what's going on. So then in the semifinal, and it's in the Blaze. I need to buy the magazine, but it's in this story. Well, not the kind of the way I'm telling it, but Blaze Battle. They did cover it in one of their magazine article in one of their magazines during this time. So it's this rapper girl. She gets up there, and Proof is about to battle this girl. And man, not to say Paul, me, or Proof is the toughest, but man, we all held our ground. We was from hip hop. We wasn't no hoes, man. We knew what we was up against, but we stood our ground. Even though that club was fucking packed with New Yorkers, and it was a fucking New York motherfucking night. And it was a Philly night too. So all of a sudden, Proof gets up and battles this girl. And she goes first. And no, Proof goes first. And man, Proof like annihilate her. He annihilate her. But he started saying, girl, I'll cut your titties open and I'll split it. And he kind of got, it was kind of like, it wasn't a pro-woman battle rap. Proof like went her every which way possible. What he usually do, he looks at his opponent, he sees weaknesses, he sees the weakness, and he goes after it like a shark in the water. He goes after the blood. I started noticing, man, the crowd started booing Proof. Like what Proof was doing, I mean, it was like, man, they really, you there, Panda, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, no, no. So they started booing him, and I'm seeing Black Dog like, damn, motherfucker, y'all boo that like boo, 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 and I was like, okay. I was thinking that maybe they was like trying to get Dice Raw, like they was like trying to you know get rid of my boy Proof out of the battle. So they booing Proof, but Proof is like slicing this girl up. So then she gets the mic. Man, she gives a elementary rap. I think it was, but she was like, yeah, she said something like, and you and this, yeah, I mean, fuck Detroit. And everybody was like, man. Man, so, man, like I said, this was on a pause, like applause ratings. So instantly, man, everybody, like, all the Roots they like, oh, they was jumping and joy for her, and everybody was booing Proof. So Proof lost the battle. Now, funny enough, Dice Raw was next, and he got his ass beat too. I shouldn't say ass, because I like some what Dice Raw say, but Dice Raw, he lost too. So, and then, man, we just left. We said, I believe she might have lost in the finals. But after that, because I wanted to make sure Dice Raw was going to lose too. I was like, man, because like all the Roots, like Black Thought and all that was, I mean, all that was there, and they was like, I didn't like that feeling. I didn't like that, like this going against my man. So I was like,
So you
okay.
think that it was strategic? You think it was
I
strategic?
don't know. Maybe it was they knew her and they was defending her and they knew her. I didn't know the dynamic because I'm telling you, the point is, if Paul would have said, "Hey man, come meet me in Haiti," we'd be like, "Okay, what's the weather like?" We were like so gung ho on everything, it didn't even matter. So hey, we just showed up. We didn't know the whole. Yeah, and so we went back to Paul's house. We went with our heads down, and we were on a it's the pathway because we were in Manhattan, so we had to get to Jersey City. So we was underwater in that. I think it's called the pathway train, and the Proof was like, man, you think I went too hard? And I was like, no, you didn't. I was like, nah, bro. Every worth it. I was like, bro, you killed it. I was like, I wouldn't change one thing. I was hyping my man up. Cause Proof was my dog, man. He had my back how I had his back. So Proof couldn't do no wrong. So I said, nah, man, fuck that. Fuck them hating ass motherfuckers in that club. Fuck it. So and that's how that went. So yeah, man. And we went to Paul's apartment. And we just said fuck it. We just said, hey, we had a laugh, and hey, we got up the next morning and we got our bus because we want to like, because Paul had it was a nice gorgeous apartment, but he did have like 3 or 4, maybe 3 roommates, and we didn't want to like pin. So we got our ass. So we flew back that Friday, and we said, hey man, we just say we was just like, hey man, and I was hyping it up because I was like, man, dude, you did your thing. And then I knew like it's they all of this is like it was documented, so they had proof photo, they had all the pretend because it was only like 8 people in that battle. I believe it was only 8. I had that magazine forever, and I don't know. I think my ex threw it away or something, being deceitful. but it was 8 people. And man, they took all the photos, and yeah, man, but it was so wild. That was a great memory, man. But man, we were definitely in the lion's den, and it was like it was so crazy. But that was fun times, man. It was fun.
It's crazy because I interviewed Poison Pen because he was in the battle too, I believe, or he
Uh-huh.
was there at least, right?
Okay.
And he says that like the crowd was booing because Proof was going just so ham on the girl,
Yeah, that's
and
what I said. Yeah.
yeah, and they felt a way about it, like, oh, you're not supposed to be going at a female like that, you know?
Yeah. Now, mind you, it was during the late 90s where gentlemen was gentlemen. I don't think I never said nothing bad to a woman until 2001. I don't think I ever called a woman out of my name probably until like in my I don't think so. So everybody, all men was so nice to women during that era. But yeah, it was that. It was that.
But do you think that you guys felt a way towards the Roots after that because of their excessive booing?
Nah, because honestly, it was only like me, Proof, and Paul. It wasn't like no bad, it was, and then honestly, Proof was, you know, they were doing because Blaze was doing a photo shoot for the participants. And so we were like, Proof was backstage. Like it was just I don't want to put Paul in, I don't, I'm just telling you, I was standing right near, I was in the crowd. And that was like, so they were like, no, it was never no ill thing. And to be honest with you, I would want to know, do Black Thought even remember it? To be real with you, he might not even be remember. He might have just been there to hold Dice Raw down.
Right, right. I could have sworn I just saw the actual magazine recently too. Somebody posted it. I think it was
Yeah, I bet you they
I think it
did.
was Poison Pen that posted it too on his stories showing like the
Wait a
articles.
minute. I think it might have been Jay-Z on the cover.
I don't remember. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, I know I found it on eBay. Maybe it's gone now. I think maybe like last year, because it was crazy because Nassan had asked me about it. And I was having dinner with Nassan, and I was telling him, he said, he always had heard about it. And I said, man, it's on eBay. He was like, no, it ain't. I was like, dude, that magazine is on eBay. And I was gonna like surprise him, but you know how life happens and you get so much shit going on. But yeah, that went down.